Good evening, everyone. It's Sunday night. Of course it is. It's the APAT show. Leigh, welcome to you, sir. I understand congratulations are in order. You've brought home the bacon.
Well, certainly have. And first of all, it's lovely to have you back.
It's nice to be back, Leigh.
It was a good week last week with Dan, and thanks very much for Dan for stepping in. But as I said to you in a message, I said it went well. I said, but he's no Des Duffy. He really isn't.
Bless his cotton socks. I'm not even sure I'm a Des Duffy. But without further ado, let's see the bacon, shall we?
Yeah, let's get our guest on. Evening to Tom Bacon. How are you doing, Tom?
Hi guys, I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. So Tom obviously was part of the APAT show winning team from Nottingham. Obviously, you'll also see Tom representing England in a couple of weeks' time. Paul announced that a few weeks back on the show in Nottingham at the World Championship of Amateur Poker. So I'm sure you're very much looking forward to that. But more importantly than that, he's currently second in chips in tonight's PLO main event. So this whole run good of the show, Des, the guest bocking, that's a 2021 thing. We've moved on. Yeah.
We'll see, Leigh. I like to think that every Sunday night's a new opportunity to prove our mettle in the guest bocking stakes, and this is a good opportunity for us tonight, I feel.
Yeah, we'll see how we go. But he's, second of the 7 remaining players. Top 5 are getting paid in the PLO tonight. So a little bit of work to do yet, Tom, I reckon. And the trouble is, it's a bit of a blockbuster final table because Yanni's on there. Richard Rudling-Smith is on there. Andre Lima from Luxembourg, who's been a regular APAT player with us. Alan Ellis is on that table as well. Richard King, who's a regular casher on a Sunday night with APAT, is there as well. And then John Olsen from Sweden makes up the final place in that. So it's a pretty stellar lineup.
Oh, it's a stacked final table. And let me tell you, Leigh, if it was any other Sunday night, you'd have also said, and Tom Bacon is on there, right? APAT star Tom Bacon is on there. So Tom can hold his own with any of these guys. I'm pretty sure of it. It's unusual for us to show the PLO final table, Leigh, but we're going to do that because our guest is in there. We recognize some of the names. But what else have the guys been playing tonight? And can you tell us maybe who's sat on the final table of the No Limit Hold'em?
Yeah, I can let you know where we're at. So it's week 62 of Leaderboard Ladders. 62. I keep saying that because I still say it's just ridiculous. We just seem to be flying with it. Regular name at the top of the leaderboard, Mr. Wigglesworth is currently top. I'm just checking to see whether he's still in. I think he may have bust the final one of the night for him, so I think he might be in the clubhouse, hoping, looking over his shoulder to see what's going. Well, he's closely followed by Billy Johnson, who's only about 40 odd points off him. I don't think Billy's playing tonight though. I've not seen him in any of the lists. Calvin Davis is there also as well. The young whippersnapper Brendan Byrne has already got points on the board. He had an absolute slog of a heads up in the deep stack earlier on tonight, Des. He was up against a player I was just talking to you about before we came on air, Pontus Dahlgren from Sweden, again a regular player with APAT. Pontus is in a good place. He finished first in the deep stack earlier on. That started at 5 o'clock. He's also still in the main event with 13 left. He's 12 of 13, but he's still there. And he's 6th in chips of the 29 remaining in the Turbo Knockout. He's coming for you, Mr. Wigglesworth. Yeah, wow. Pontus is giving this a good go on a Sunday night. 3 cashes on a Sunday night might be enough. We'll see where we go with that one. But the deep stack ended up with 52 runners, so we hit the guarantee on that. As I say, Pontus and Brendan. Brendan had a decent chip lead, and somehow it went the wrong way for him. But he's still learning the game. Do you know what I mean, Brendan? He's a young lad. He's new to it.
He's a young lad.
Yeah,
he's trying to pick up good habits from some of the good players around APAT. Can't blame him for that.
Exactly. Mr. Wigglesworth did cash in that, though. He did finish 5th of the 8 that got paid. So very well done to him. In the main event, well, we hit the guarantee in that. 86 runners in that. It's paying top 15. We've got 13 remaining. So we're a little bit off the final table at the moment, which is another good reason for being on the PLO at the moment and watching our guest hit his wits against that lineup. Still in the 13 remaining. Joe Gaynard's in there. Pontus, who I mentioned. Ricky Woolley's in there as well. Kelly Warner, Stuart Lang. So loads of players still playing in the No Limit Hold'em. As I say, the PLO's up on the screen. We've already kind of been through the players on that. It's paying top 5, 29 runners, just a little bit shy of the guarantee. So a little bit of value in that tonight. And then finally the 9 p.m. turbo knockout. 63 runners in that tonight.
Smashed it, Leigh. Smashed it.
Absolutely smashed it. Paying top 11. And we got 28 left. So a little bit of way to go, but we know that tends to move quite quickly. I've just seen, because I've only got the top 15 up, I've seen one Thomas Bacon, now 12th of the remaining 28 in that. So our guest is multi-tabling whilst talking to us as well, Dave.
He's like a Russian battalion, Leigh. He's encroaching. He's encroaching gently from the east. I see what he's doing there. We have a bunch, Leigh, of good folks out there watching on, and I mean a bunch. The Oracle is there. Evening. He uses an exclamation mark tonight, and it is a good one for Simon Lawler, right? Forest back in the Premier League. Back in the Premier League.
I sent him a little congratulations and a bit of applause. I got a thumbs up back, and that's all you need to know.
Fantastic,
absolutely amazing for Forest. Rode their luck a little bit this afternoon. I don't know whether you saw the game, Des, but there were a couple of penalty decisions that one of them could have easily gone against them, but they managed to ride their luck with VAR and got through. So that's
you can't make it, Leigh. You can't make it these days without a bit of luck. I know that from first-hand experience. But lovely to see Forest back. I mean, there'll be an easy 3 points, right? There'll be an easy 3 points at home, probably an easy 3 points away as well, to be fair. But lovely to see them back. I don't wish the tough journey that Simon will have next season on him. He's a nice guy, but I think they're either going to have to strengthen or it's going to be a tough season, right? But
I would imagine they will.
Thing. That's the same for all.
I imagine they will strengthen. I did one of the favourite tweets I've seen this evening was congratulations to Nottingham Forest, and then it was a dig at Man City fans saying, well, at least that's another ground you can visit where you can go to the museum and see what the European Cup looks like.
Fantastic. Listen, it's not just the Oracle who's out there with us. One Mr. Carl Pilgrim is out there saying, evening, everyone. Evening to you, Carl. Carl, of course, we're nearly there, Leigh. The World Series of Poker is nearly upon us, and Carl and John Murray's limited company, that is the Fantasy World Series of Poker, will soon be kicking off. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on. We've got a bunch of others out there. I can see Paul Haycock's name. I can see Gary Mason's name. Oh, it's Gary Mason McBride. So it's Gary McBride, in fact. Gary, of course, a successful APAT this season. I have to say, would sit atop or very close to atop the live rankings.
Back from Vegas, I think, because I think last time he messaged in the chat to us. It was he from Bally's, I think, something like that.
It was Bally's. He was telling us a little bit about what the scene was like for the next venue for the World Series of Poker. So Gary's out there, probably back working, I'd have thought, on a Sunday night, Leigh. He likes to tune in when he's working. One Mr. Lou Brush is out there, so good evening to you, Shug. Adam Phelan is there. Barry Cullen is there and says good evening. Evening back to you, Barry. Mr. Wigglesworth is there. Billy Johnston is there as well. He says he was in, but sadly no more. So Billy Johnston, of course, a big Man United fan, so I almost want to call him Lolly Johnston. All United fans are lolly to me at the moment. Ralph Rangnick sacked? Was he sacked from his consultant role? What?
It was just inevitable. That was what was going to happen, wasn't it? The Austria job came up. He was never going to stay there. I think if he'd have made an impact in the last 6 months, then he might have got the consultancy to stay on. But I think the reality was the minute Ten Hag was announced, people were saying, well, why are we keeping him on? And ultimately the sensible thing has happened at the end of his contract, which is perfectly reasonable. So.
He's a good recruitment man, isn't he? Hasn't he wasn't he behind half of the Liverpool team? I mean, I'm
not sure whether it is, to be honest. I don't think. I think he's probably had a look behind the scenes and decided he probably can't, sort what needs sorting. So he'll leave it at that and see what happens.
Look, Tom's already had enough of our wittering on. He's decided, feck this for a game of cards. I'm leaving. So he's left. I'm sure he'll bounce back. Oh, hello. There he is.
There we go.
There he is. He's back again. Who else do we have? Chris Phillis is there. It's been a long time since I've seen Chris. Hope you're well, Chris. Stefan Roeder is there. Good evening to you, Stefan, as well. Stefan typically tends to say around this time, I have to go to bed in 5 minutes, so give me the big news. So why don't we start there, Leigh? Do we have any big news at all this evening to give Stefan and the rest of the guys?
No, not really.
No. Good night, Steph.
Yeah, were we expecting anything? Anything
see you
exciting?
in Nottingham, pal.
Yeah. No, what we can say, what we can say regarding the Worlds is we're pretty close. I think Tom's just about there to actually kind of confirm dates for when the online element of the Worlds is going to be, and tie up some more info on the schedules and stuff, and hopefully be able to confirm when people can start buying in and that kind of thing. Obviously, Party are very focused on the Millions Europe, which is happening at the moment. The online day one is tonight, so their focus is very much on that, and we will we're pretty much kind of then in the flow after that.
In the flow. Those are famous last words. If ever I heard them, I think we shouldn't maybe call it season 14. I think we should just go straight into calling it soon 14. And on that topic, Lolly Johnston says to me, fair enough, but I did have a wee lol to myself last night. I will take that one very much on the chin. I have to say that was probably quite fair.
Well, it was a bizarre one last night. I think I said to you when we spoke a couple of days ago, and I said it'll be a great game because it's two of the great teams in Europe. But Real Madrid this season just have found a way. It's really weird. Yeah. They've just managed to find a way, and you absolutely battered them for 90 minutes.
Oh, we did.
And Courtois played game of his life. Basically, and and you couldn't find a way through. And I think when you look at it like that, Real Madrid deserved the result in the end. They
If
they played a blinder.
Yeah, if you're like madly, I'm not sure what the word is, on one side or the other, maybe you're gonna, not accept it, but you just got to accept it. At the end of the day, they did what they have had to do to get the result. I can't complain about Liverpool's performance, with the possible exception of maybe slotting one or two, but Courtois played well. So no grumbles from me. It just gives us something further to aim at next season. That's would be my view. And to be honest, I mean, we had a few other problems. There were other problems last night that were just insane. I mean, I'm not quite sure what's going on in football at the moment, Leigh.
Oh, there's some weird stuff before the game. Fans trying to get in, hence the reason for the delays. I think there needs to be an understanding of quite what's going on, because it obviously the media at the moment are painting it very much as a bit of a one-sided view, that it was all the French authorities and UEFA and everything else. I think we need to fully understand the facts and understand were the problems only at the Liverpool end, and if they were only at the Liverpool end, why weren't they at the Real Madrid end as well? If it's all the same systems and all the same things, what went on? What were there these fake tickets that were issued, and that was what was causing the bottlenecks and fans getting upset because they were getting turned away because I presume somebody had already gone in and is sat in their seat with a fake ticket and they had the real ones, or what? It needs a full investigation as to what went on, and obviously the way the authorities then treated a number of the fans that were probably quite frustrated and angry about what was going on. But it seems very strange that it only happened at the Liverpool end, and there was nothing, or we're not hearing of any issues with Real Madrid fans getting into the ground or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, there were issues with Madrid, but not to the same level.
Okay.
But I suppose if you looked at what happened at the Euros, I think it's probably super reasonable to assume that the French police decided that every Englander that was going to come over to Paris was in some way a threat. And, having looked exhaustively at it today and at a lot of content around it, it does seem as if, the organization was pretty poor and led to a lot of the problems that then occurred. So, that's not to say there won't have been some problems. There may well have been, but not to any scale.
It's a strange one, because the stadium's held, masses of big events. I mean, what did you make of it, Tom?
There was a really good Twitter thread actually from a journalist whose name I can't remember, but he basically described.
Rob Draper?
Yeah, it was him. Yeah. And it had a lot of pictures of where they were queuing and what there was kind of funneled through a very small gap. And a lot of the stuff I've seen on Twitter is from journalists and broadcasters and people who you kind of trust the accounts of, and it's pretty unanimous that the fans were largely well behaved and the organisation was terrible.
Yeah. I mean, Draper commented on one of my tweets today, and it went on to have over 3 million views. There's just a huge amount of stuff out there. And as I said, I don't think there was anything too complicated about this. I think it was the French, just basically taking a really, really tough view on it. And the way they treated the fans who turned up very, very early, and the sort of queuing system that they put in place, was just off the scale in terms.
Do we think the fake ticket thing is fake news, and UEFA just threw that out last night as that's what happened, or do we think there's an element of truth to it?
There's another journalist out there who has been talking to UEFA, and it's clear that UEFA are starting to backpedal on all of their stories from last night. So the first story was Liverpool fans turned up late, and there was lots of fake tickets. They've pedaled back from that now. They were told that by the French Interior Ministry. Then there was other stuff in relation to the queuing system that the police put in place. Again, UEFA is saying we weren't aware of that. That wasn't signed off. That wasn't agreed. So they've stopped the flow of fans, which has created incredible tailback. And then they didn't allow the fans to go up in the concourse. They channeled them through a two-person wide channel, which ended up at the Madrid end. And it's just an absolute travesty. And as I understand it, a lot of the local French youths then started going over the gates, rushed to the front, went over the gates, and hence the pepper spray came out. And of course, who was there? The Liverpool fans. So, an investigation needs to be done. But to me, I don't think there's too much complexity in this one. It just looks like a bad operation in terms of how the French and the Stade de France staff have managed the thing.
It's just amazing, as I say, that it just seems to have been focused predominantly on the Liverpool end, and that they've put on major, they put on so many events there over the years. Why all of a sudden this has become was a problem? If majority of Liverpool fans that went to Paris without tickets, and there were a lot, but they were in the fan parks and other things that were set up around the city, so they weren't going too near the ground themselves because they didn't have tickets. And I think there were three. My understanding is there was kind of three checks before as you got closer to the stadium, so to try and reduce the people that didn't have tickets from getting close to the ground. So it does kind of make you wonder how on earth they managed to get that so wrong in the hours before the kickoff.
Well, they obviously
really peculiar. The other thing that I found really, really weird is why did it then kick off at 8:36?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was specifically that time. We are going to kick off at 8:36. I thought that's just weird.
You just get a sense that somebody in the French Interior Ministry had a rather large bet on an 8:36 kickoff.
Yeah,
just designed the whole thing. Yeah. Walked away with several million euros in a suitcase.
But so, obviously, result aside, and I know that the majority of the rest of the English football supporting population were absolutely as happy as can be that Real Madrid won and Liverpool didn't, and we didn't have to listen to Liverpool going on about winning the cup treble and all that. But how'd you see your season, Des? You picked up a couple of Tin Pot trophies.
Phenomenal season. Two firsts and 2 seconds. I mean, what's not to like?
Do you know the quote? The fact that I heard the other day, and it has been done before, but not necessarily by one of the top tier teams that are in Europe. Liverpool played in every match they possibly could have played in this season.
Correct. 63.
Which is quite demanding. A ridiculous thing.
Which is quite demanding. Had in a ton of internationals, things like the AFCON. The players played a pretty large schedule of events. That said, the squad's been strengthened, and I think Klopp used it pretty well. So there was quite a lot of minutes given to non-first teamers, I would say. But a great season. I mean, if you take it just based on your the value you get as a fan watching the games and stuff like that, second to none. I mean, crikey, we've been having finals since about March.
And do you think Mane's going or?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I haven't said anything on it yet, but I do believe he will go. which would be a shame. But I understand. He's 30 now. I think he's
what
paid
do you
his
think
dues
his
at Liverpool.
What do you think his reason for that? Where is he going to go? Is he just wanting a different experience, or because he hasn't really achieved all there is to achieve at Liverpool? You've only won one title.
Well, he's won he's won a Premier League, a Champions League, an FA Cup, a League Cup, a World Club Cup, a Super Cup. I think he's pretty much won everything.
Until you've done multiple leagues, you can't really call yourself one of the greats.
I think the guy wants to go and try another league. I think he probably
he's going to Bayern, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry.
And nobody at Liverpool would begrudge him that move. I think he's been brilliant this season. He's found a new reign of life up the middle. So we'd love to keep him, but I don't think anybody's going to say a bad word about him.
Do you think it matters what he goes for? Because I heard it was going to be about 25 million, something like that, because he's got 1 year left on his contract. Does that doesn't bother you in the slightest?
I think it'll be a bit more than that, but
only on the basis that the talk after before the Champions League final was if Real Madrid win it, then Ballon d'Or's probably going to go to
Benzema.
To Benzema, yeah, sorry. And if Liverpool win it, well, it's possibly Salah or Mane, maybe, possibly. So he's up there being talked about as one of the best players in the world at the moment, and he's happily just going to go.
The point is he's
quite strange.
I think it's a decision for the player, right? So he's been with us for I'm going to say about 6 years. I'm sure he came in 2016. So he's got a year left in his contract. He'll go on a free at the end of next season. Liverpool are going through a rebuilding phase. I mean, that's obvious. We've got a lot of players who have hit 30 now. So that work's got to start. And you look at the front five. Well, Diaz is new. Jota is relatively new. So you've got your Mane, Firmino, and Salah. I think Salah's likely to stay another season, so he'll go to the end of his contract, have a huge payday. Firmino.
You think he'll go on a freebie at the end of his contract, you reckon?
Oh, I think so, yeah, absolutely.
Wow, okay.
But I think we'd want him to go anyway. I mean, he hasn't given us anything for the last 4 to 5 months. Nothing. So, I think we'd rather sell him for a few quid, but we'll want him to go. But you can't get rid of all of them in one pre-season, so you have to.
Villa have got a bit of money, Des. Villa are splashing their cash around. Yeah, they're on the sea.
I don't think they're going to be able to afford
Salah. See if there's a deal to be done. Yeah, I reckon. Yeah.
Who you reckon? Ollie Watkins to lead the Liverpool front line? We could go for it.
Well, Villa are they
do a lot worse, Des.
Villa are getting in and doing their business. They're doing their business early this year, Tom, aren't they? Yeah, they're not hanging about.
Well, yeah, we've just signed 2 players I've never heard of, but who are apparently good.
I'll tell you what, I wish they could have held out for an extra 15 minutes. Even one goal last weekend, that would have been amazing.
I mean, as all Villa fans will tell you, even the fact that we were even 2-0 up at any point is probably you have to be happy with that, really.
Oh, hugely so.
But yeah, we did. I mean, from that position, even against City, we looked kind of in control the whole match, and then we just fell apart, really. As soon as they scored the first goal, it's kind of, you knew what was coming.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why Stevie G pulled Coutinho off, because if nothing else, I mean, he can break with the ball and he can hold it,
Yeah, that was a really horrible sub, because it was for Nakamba as well, who has no passing ability at all, and he's just in there to get in the way and break it up. And I get that, I get the logic is that you've got a lead and you want to shore it up and hold on to it, but that's basically just inviting pressure, which you don't really want to do against a team like City.
Yeah. Listen, there's a lot of chat on here and I've been accused of ignoring it. So let's have a look. Right, what have we got? Where does this start?
It's only you're being abused by Mr. Ward, right. And he only thinks you're avoiding the chat because he's basically abusing you. So
let's do it from the top.
What we should quickly say is the PLO is in the cash. We're down to 5. We've just lost Yanni in 5th place, picking up $80, which means our guest here now is already guaranteed $110. It's $410 up top, but there is a huge chip leader there in Andre Lima. The other 3 are going to have to see what to do. So we'll keep an eye on that. But you crack on.
Fantastic. Okay, let me take my medicine. It's been coming all season. Here it comes. Stuart Anthony Ward, dreadfully unlucky in the Champions League final. Des Duffy, gutted for Liverpool. Honestly, maybe. Well, that could have been an Oasis album, right? It's coming. Mr. Haycock says, glad Tom's comfortable Liverpool win prediction came in.
Yeah, I did say that.
It's just accept it.
I
That's
bet
what
on
we
them
got to
as
do on
well.
a
So
Sunday night.
I've cost myself money, if that's any consolation.
Simon Lawler, should fans travel without tickets to these big events? I mean, probably not, but you can't stop them. And a lot of fans, I mean, I was going to go over. I didn't have a ticket. I would have gone over just for the fan park. As it transpires, I'm sort of glad I didn't now. Mr. Ward went on to say, travel to the city, yes. Don't go near the ground. Absolutely agree with that. Although the other odd thing is that, of course, it's quite normal in games, particularly games like these, for tickets to be available quite close to kickoff for whatever reason, and that tends to happen quite close to the ground. So it's an awkward one. Stuart quite rightly says, I mean, it looked like a big old shit show, and it absolutely was that. Simon says, so we could listen to that bird. Is he talking about that woman who sang just before? Is he talking about the woman
probably
who sang?
Yeah, probably.
That bird, as he describes her, that bird, she put a tweet up at some point last night saying, watched our performance back. Little bit disappointed by the fans on both sides chanting their songs, considering the amount of work me and my crew had done. Yeah, right. Fuck off. Excuse me. Sorry, my mic went a bit funny there.
Hey, I thought we had Dan back hosting for a second then. Yeah, that was
sorry. Stu said no goals in 3 finals. And look, I can't argue with this one. That's a pretty poor stat, right? We've got a lot of top stats in the season. But we haven't scored a goal in 3 finals.
330 minutes of finals, and you didn't score a goal.
It's pretty shocking. And
I would ask how many of these people saying this, how many finals their team played in.
Yeah, I can't go there. Yeah. Cannot go there. But I would say we've had plenty of chances. We just haven't put them away. I think we've played well in all of the finals. Stu says, lucky, indeed. Peter says, evening, guys, and Tom Bacon. Good evening to you, Peter. We're back at Stu again. If Sadio Mane goes for 25 million and we get 10 million for Jed Spence, I will howl with laughter.
So, yeah, Stu was on last week and was absolutely giving right abuse to Jed Spence, who's currently on loan at Nottingham Forest from Middlesbrough. Obviously, this is the Jed Spence that's just got promoted with Forest, but apparently Stu doesn't rate him at all. So
this one who's in the championship team of the season as well.
Yeah, that's the one. That's that Jed Spence. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Liverpool are traditionally, I think we've done some great recruitment business over the last 5 or 6 years, but traditionally we're not big spenders, as you know, albeit we have spent a bit when required. But I thought one of the really interesting sidebars of the last 6, 7, 8 days was Mbappe, who obviously re-signed with PSG for a ridiculous amount of money, saying at some point 6, 7, 8 days ago, I was talking to Liverpool. So I just thought that was super interesting. There's also been a mention of Liverpool and Harry Kane. There was a mention of Liverpool and Son from Spurs as well. It's all fairly recent stuff. So I don't know if the club is on the verge of actually, chuntering up a significant amount of cash, as they did pretty much after their last Champions League defeat. When they ended up buying the likes of Alisson and Fabinho and of course Van Dijk.
I think the interesting you mentioned Mbappe. I think the Mbappe deal is fascinating, and it's probably the sign of things to come in the way the way transfers are going to work. I think you mentioned Salah seeing down his contract as Tom's all in here against Rudders.
Oh,
counterfeit.
Yeah, Rudder's holding pocket aces and then gets and I think that's just the way a lot of it's going to go now. Is players are quite happy to see out their contract and then basically get a big signing on fee on a free. Pogba's going to do it again.
Can't blame them
for the second time in his career this summer. And that's I think the way players are going to work, which is a lot more similar to the way I suppose the American sports work. So you might end up seeing more trading of players, that kind of thing happening, rather than I think the big transfer fees are possibly going to be a thing of the past.
Can't blame them, Leigh. And to be honest, it was never going to happen, right? Despite the conversation, but had Liverpool been the beneficiary of an Mbappe signing on the back of a free, and we end up paying him a ton of sort of wages and a signing on fee and stuff, I don't think too many Liverpool fans would have complained. So you got to, if you want to be fair, you've got to say if Salah wants to go on a free, let him go. He's given us more than what we asked for on his joining.
Yeah, but I think that's the way that's the way it's going to go. Obviously, the impact is that affects the footballing pyramid, I suppose, to a certain extent, in that money is not being filtered down through the system to lower league clubs. And these are the same low clubs that were, when the Super League was being proposed, saying, well, it's going to ruin the pyramid. You can't do this, you can't do that. And ultimately, it's going to be the players that are going to do it by effectively removing transfer fees from club to club, and instead having signing on fees where the player's keeping the money. That's going to kill the pyramid just as much.
Yeah, although that might be a contractual thing, Leigh, right? That's about looking at how contracts can be written to try and not.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But it doesn't filter the money down. So let's just you say a player moves and a transfer fee happens. That then will then spend money replacing, and that works its way down and works its way down. If that money is basically, there isn't a transfer fee and the player is taking a huge signing on fee and taking it effectively taking it out of football. It's like the poker. It's like the poker world. You go and have a massive win in poker and you don't put anything back into the poker community. You just take it out completely. But it's out the liquidity.
But maybe, Leigh, players going on a free have to pay a license fee to be able to play in the league. There are numerous ways you can handle it, right? So 10% of your signing on fee is a license fee.
I generally think things are going to change. Just where it'll go, it'll be really interesting to see. And some of these big ones, and Mbappe is the first real, huge one where it's been very clear that he's to re-sign for the club that he was with for a big sign, a payday. Yeah, is kind of unheard of. Although it's happened before, I suppose, in players have signed a new contract or they've renewed their contract or whatever it is. But this one very much felt like it was very much a commercial deal of, PSG said they'll pay me this. He's gone to Real Madrid and said, well, they've offered me this. What will you do? They've done the same. It feels very much it's been manipulated, the system.
Yeah. But I think this is only really going to impact the high level players in this way, right? Because for every one high level player, there's like 1,000 sort of mid-level good solid pros. They're not going to have the same weight of negotiation when it comes to going on a free, for example. I would have thought.
No, wouldn't have thought so.
Mr. Wigglesworth said he was out watching Top Gun 2. So Top Gun 2 Maverick, right, released this weekend. Haven't seen it. Would quite like to see it. So not really possible or polite to play the whole schedule. I think not polite. By not polite, he means probably not polite to sit at the cinema with his mobile out playing a game, right? When he's got.
Well, it depends. If he's gone on his own, then no excuse. If he's on some sort of hot date and he's taken her to go and see Top Gun 2, then perfectly understandable not to be playing party poker on your mobile phone. I mean, I get that.
Oh, fantastic.
That's perfectly reasonable. So we're down to 3 in the PLO. Tom's only just the short stack because Richard's not got a huge amount, but obviously Andre's still got a big stack here. How do you see the position here, Tom? You're guaranteed $155, 410 up top. How are you looking to play this?
Well, Andre's pretty aggressive, so I'm probably just going to wait for him to double me up and go from there.
Yeah.
But I guess, myself and Rich are going to be pretty tight because there's not really much incentive for us we don't really want to bust before each other. Whereas Andre gets to be really aggressive with the big stack because there's more pressure on us to try and outlast each other when we have kind of similar stacks.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, and you're still sat on just over 20 bigs. Richard's got 30 bigs. Andre's got 90 bigs. So, yeah, you're not kind of like all or nothing at the moment, are you?
No, especially in PLO, you can chip down to quite a small stack, much smaller than you can in Hold'em. Obviously, because it's pot limit, you can't just go all in when you've got 12 bigs. So I do a lot more kind of limping and checking and playing a bit more passively pre-flop, and then you have a bit more wiggle room when you go post-flop.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we're down to 14 in the turbo knockout. No longer does the list have a Thomas Bacon on it, unfortunately.
Didn't work out.
No, and it hasn't got a Mr. Wigglesworth either. But Pontus is still there. He's 12 of 14. He's paying top 11, so he needs to get into the points in that one as well. And we'll see where it plays out for him.
Wow.
I don't think he's going to get enough points to catch Peter because he only finished 11th in the main event in the end. But yeah, we'll see.
Can I give a shout out to Paul Haycock as well for coming 29th for 29 in the PLA tonight?
Yeah, I did spot that. Yeah.
So was that deserves? Have you thrown a bit of shadow there? Was that a bit of shadow?
Deserves a very special thing. He's not picking himself to play the Omaha at the Worlds, though, is he?
Well, not on this evidence, I don't think.
Definitely not.
Listen, guys, Richard Baker has joined. Good evening to you, Richard. He says, good evening, chaps. Stu says, Tom Bacon. Right, I support Borough in the championship. We don't do finals. It's fair enough. It's been a while. It's been a while since Borough were in a final. And apparently Jed Spence is the second best right back on Borough's books. He will be shite in the Premier League. He'd probably end up at Arsenal then, or United maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Pick up for United.
Richard Baker should play leaderboard ladders way more often than he does.
Why, has he had a good run tonight?
No. He has got an advantage that nobody else I know of that plays leaderboard ladders has got. He really should be playing it a hell of a lot more than he does.
What's his advantage?
Because there's a Richard Baker from Canada that plays leaderboard ladders. Oh. And then there's the Richard Baker that we all know and love from the UK that occasionally plays. He played, I think he played this evening, and I think he's cashed once this week. But my spreadsheet doesn't differentiate between the two of them.
I like it.
So he's got his double points. If he needs to get onto his mate in Canada and just say, right, we're both going to blitz this 1 week, and we'll see what happens.
Got to do it. I like it. That's a plan. Talking of plans, Mr. Lawler says, oddly enough, the best football this weekend was the National League playoff semis. Looking forward to the final next Sunday.
Did you see the Wrexham result?
I did. I saw the game. Never mind the result.
Oh, did you? Unbelievable.
Wrexham 1 up, then 2-1 down, then 3-2 up, then 4-3 down, then 4-4, and end up losing 5-4. Holy Jesus.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
A couple of lads from Hollywood were shell-shocked in the stand. Shell-shocked.
Yeah, thinking, what have we invested in?
Yeah, any chance we can get some of that money back? No, mate, this isn't Sainsbury's.
It still is the most bizarre club purchase I think I've ever heard of. Really, I don't.
I'm sure it'll make sense when you see the documentary at some point.
It'll come good at some point. I'm sure it will. Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Mr. Rudders has joined us in the chat. So good evening to you, Rich. One of three here, doing quite nicely as we go. Mr. Haycock says, can confirm I'm relegated to the heads up in the England team. And Mr. Ward says, I hope Richard Baker from Canada is better than Richard Baker from Gerrard's Cross.
Yeah,
indeed.
We've
done that, haven't we? We've done that. So listen, Leigh, tell me about this this Fantasy World Series of Poker, right? That Carl and John have nurtured over the years. World Series of Poker obviously coming up. What can you tell us, my friend? Do you have any hot tips for anyone who might want to play?
Well, yeah, we've got we've kind of pitched that we were going to chat about it. We would have talked about it by now. Obviously, we're just watching Tom on this final table. Once that's finished, we'll move on there. But basically, for anyone that's not got involved in it, there's links all over our group. They've got a separate group set up for it, just so because obviously John posts a hell of a lot of information and results and stuff during the World Series for all of the events. So it's a great way of actually it's a good way to catch up on what's been going on. To be honest, in a little kind of summarized version, but they keep it nice and simple. So basically, you can just pick any 10 players you like. It's as simple as that. Pick your 10 for the whole series, and then based on the results of each of the events over in Vegas, then adds to how your roster of players does. Tom's already got his team picked. We're gonna hopefully go through that in a little while and let us know how why he's made the picks that he's made. But of course, it's understanding Des, how do you go about picking a team? What do you do? What statistics do you use? I know Tom told me earlier on Messenger when we spoke earlier on, he did an entire 5 minutes research before he made his selection of 10. So yeah, he's put a lot of effort into this. Others might just want to grab a dartboard and and a list of players and just and go for it in that approach. But I've come up with a couple of ideas and ways.
Okay, here we go. Here's the good stuff, guys. This is why you watch.
The ways you can go about doing this. So I thought, well, first of all, how would you go? Okay, let's look at players that are really in a good place at the moment. So I thought, let's look at the 2022 money list.
Hold on, Leigh. Can Tom still see his table?
He can still see his table.
He can still see his table.
It's probably not going to affect the play too much, then. So
yeah, it'll be all right.
Tom, let us know if there's a big hand coming, right? And we'll switch straight back. Okay, let us know.
Okay.
So I'll be interested to know whether any of the players on the 2022 money list is. Now, obviously, this is quite is impacted, I guess, a little bit by a lot of the high rollers and that kind of thing. But one Stephen Chidwick is we don't mention him too much because he's still got really funny about us getting him knocked off that front.
We took his cover, didn't we? We took his cover.
So he's not. He still doesn't really talk to us after that. After we did that, but he's picked up over 5 million in cash so far this year. But there's some other names on here which you'll recognise, the likes of Jason Kuhn, Paul Fu, Phil Ivey, who else is on there? Daniel Tang. Who else did I see? Michael Watson. So I guess it's a good way of kind of having a gist, but obviously that is quite heavily high roller driven. I mean, is there anybody on that list, Tom, that you would have been considering for your team?
I do have Jason Kuhn, and I think I was considering Chidwick, but didn't put him in the end. I don't think anyone else from the list actually I've got.
Obviously, Nick Petrangelo obviously is another fairly well-known name that players might have been considering. But is that a way to do it? I don't know whether players will have a good World Series or not. It's hard to say, Des.
I have a question, Leigh. I have a question. So I agree with all of that. So Phil Ivey would stand out to me as a name that obviously everybody still thinks incredibly talented poker player. I guess the question with Phil Ivey is nobody knows for sure whether he'll turn up, and if he does, how many events he'll play, right? That'd be the challenge with selecting Ivey.
That is obviously the tricky thing. Now we know Carl, who helps to organise all of this, has got a hotline to all of the top players, and he finds ways of finding out what they're doing, and obviously we're not the only ones who run fantasy competitions for the World Series, so everybody's trying to find out this information as to what's going on. So. Yeah, you're right. It's difficult to know whether that works or not. So my next port of call, Des, I thought, well, let's have a look at, because obviously it's only 6 months since there was a World Series of poker.
That's a good point.
It was only last autumn. So I thought, right, let's have a look at who cashed. Now, who do you think had the most cashes in the 2021 World Series of Poker?
Was it Linda Iwaniak?
It wasn't Linda. No, it wasn't.
Linda? Not Linda?
Good guess. Good guess. Tom, do you know who it was?
Was it Roland Israelishvili?
See, now that's why we've got Tom on the show.
Bloody hell. What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
This is part of my 5 minutes research.
Yeah, that is why we have Tom on the show. Yeah. So, Roland, 27 cashes.
Bloody hell. He's 11 clear of his next closest.
Last year. Yeah. So, absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. Now, we'll come back to Roland later on because I put a little poll up on the group this afternoon. He's one of interesting. He's in the top 3 all-time cashes at the World Series, but doesn't seem to go massively deep in events. But is very good at hitting the money. So also names on there that obviously stand out. Sean Deeb, everyone will recognise. Obviously Daniel Negreanu's on there as well. Who else did I spot on there? That Daniel Zach is another player that I know. Again, anyone on there? Obviously, you knew Roland. Is Roland in your team? Did you go for that?
He is. Yeah, I picked him basically purely on this basis. I think those caches are from WSOP Europe and maybe online as well. But I think he had maybe 19, 20 or something with an actual WSOP, which considering there are 90 events.
Yeah,
is pretty impressive, and I don't even know who plays all of them. So yeah, I went for him. I went for a few on this. The top 4 are all in my team on this list, actually.
Wow. Okay.
So is it a part of your strategy, Tom, to try and differentiate in any way from who every other sort of competitor within this competition might pick?
I've got a couple of semi-wild cards.
Okay, there you go.
And my main strategy really was to go for a lot of the high rollers, just because the high roller fields are much smaller, so they're just more likely to win the event. Because I mean, obviously, I think Roland Israelis really plays mainly I would say the lower buy-ins. Like, I can't still afford any of them, but you know, the 1Ks, 2Ks, the 5Ks. Whereas, it's quite hard to get through those events when they've got thousands and thousands of runners. So that was those kind of the real high roller players. I think are going to get a lot of points, even if they don't play that many events. But then I have a couple of younger guys. One of them is Landon Tice, who you probably have heard of.
Yeah.
And then another one is a guy called Isaac Kempton, who you may have heard of, but is kind of fairly new on the scene. And I suspect both of those are like young guys going to play a lot of tournaments, and they're going to play all of the low ones, but also are maybe rolled for the high ones or can get backed for the high ones. So I think those are my kind of players where I think a lot of people may not pick them.
Understood. Well, listen, Simon.
I should just say, Des, before we go any further, that this tactic of me putting up World Series of Poker information on the screen instead of Tom's table is working an absolute treat.
As he's stacked up.
Because he was chip leader a minute ago, but Richard Rudling Smith has just knocked out Andre. So he's now heads up against Rudders. So he's going well.
That worked well for both of them.
They're guaranteed $245. They're now playing for the top prize of 410. So good luck, Tom. They're not a million different stat wise. Tom's got about 47 bigs. Richard's got about 57. So not a huge amount in it. But I'll keep the stats on the screen, Tom, because it seems to be doing the trick. Yeah.
Well, listen,
it's working okay. Yeah.
It seems clear to me, Leigh, that a lot of thinking is required for this Fantasy World Series of Poker competition. Clearly, you've provided in the Hendon Mob an ideal place for entrants to go and, pick their team. That's super. And there's lots of other data points in the Hendon Mob that you can choose players based on as well. But Simon, the Oracle Lawler, does have a couple of nuggets of advice for Tom. Number one, he says, Mr. Min Cash won't win you. And I'm going to add anything on the end there myself. So Ishral, that guy in the top there, he's not going to win anything for you. Tom, Simon believes. And then Simon goes on to tell you that a few years ago, all my players were called Dan. So that is another selection method you may want to go with. Perhaps pick a name and then just...
on the back of what Simon's just said, Mr. Min Cash won't do it. Yeah, which I get that. So I've got one more table. So I've got the all-time top 10. So those players that have finished the most in the top 10s in the World Series.
Yeah.
Okay. So now this is a bit of a blast from the past list. I mean, now we're looking.
Yeah, there we go.
Now we're looking way back. Yeah. So
I'm
obviously,
seeing scroungers, drunks, some busties there as well. Is the Jack High guy there? That's what I want to know. You called me with Jack High.
So obviously, these are the big name players that have been doing it for a long, long time. And as I say, top 10 finishes. So we're talking pretty much final tables here. So obviously Helmuth is there, Negreanu's there, Eric Ixtedel, Chris Ferguson. We don't know what Chris Ferguson is going to. Will he be back playing? Or not? Obviously, you've mentioned Phil Ivey. Saying there's other names in there. You kind of go, will they? There's some which obviously we know definitely won't be playing this year because they're sadly no longer with us. But Doyle Brunson makes it just on that list as well. And obviously he's still playing. So it'd be interesting to see. Now, did you go for any of those players? I'm assuming the top two are probably in your team, Tom.
Negreanu is, I think, like the reasons for not picking Negreanu are basically either you want to differentiate from other people's teams, so you're hedging on him doing badly, or you don't like him. Otherwise, he's just going to play literally every event and probably do well in a lot of them as well.
Well, I don't understand the don't like him thing, because I nearly put up a list of the because on the Hendon mob you have a kind of like a popularity rating, and I think he's number 1. So
he's a very polarizing sort of figure. But I mean, I've kind of gone through cycles with Negreanu of liking him and then finding him quite annoying, and then thinking, oh, actually, is that right?
We've been very lucky in that. I mean, Des and I mean, obviously apart from doing the APAT show,
we have a star-studded list of friends.
Apart from doing the APAT show, lockdown has been very kind to us in that we've got to do some ridiculous shows and things like the Orbit and Seat Wide Open and other bits and pieces with some of these guys, and I just thought Negreanu was superb. The off-camera stuff as well, when he was chatting to us and everything, just really couldn't speak high enough of him. I thought he was absolutely.
Who was the guy? Our favorite had to be Norman Chad. He told a story about an ex-wife. It was included in the show.
He's got a lot of ex-wives.
It's the only episode of the Orbit I actually had to edit.
We came back about 24 hours later. He said, that story about the ex-wife, is there any chance we could take that out? And said, don't worry, we've already done that because we knew you were going to come back.
Was it Mike Matt turned up and he was
laying in bed.
From bed, laying in bed. So were you getting up, Mike? No. Like, okay, fair enough.
He looked like Humpty Dumpty sat there. But anyway.
Yeah. So the poll that I put out. So I don't know whether you saw it earlier on.
I did.
So this is what I popped up there. Wow. So they're the top 3 all-time cashes.
Yeah.
So Phil Hellmuth, Dan Negreanu, and Roland that we mentioned. And I just simply asked the question: if you could only pick one, which one would you pick? Obviously, when we mentioned about Roland, I said I'd come back to him, because obviously if you look at his total live earnings and his best live cashes, significantly lower than the other 2. So he's that kind of gets there in the money, doesn't necessarily push on a consistent basis. You surprised he's not had some sort of training or coaching to try and work out how to solve that, because getting in the money is kind of the hard bit, isn't it? Anything after that is a bonus. But interestingly, the vast majority of people, I think it was nearly 2/3, would have picked Daniel Negreanu. Who would you have gone for, Tom?
I'll go Negreanu as well. I was going to say the reason I don't have Hellmuth in my team is because I can't bring myself to want Phil Hellmuth to do well in anything. So,
but that's the thing, you see. Phil is likely to go and win a couple of things, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to take any pleasure from that, because I think he's just.
Well, my comment on Phil, because Phil's been on an episode of The Orbit as well, and it was the one episode of The Orbit where we didn't feel like we needed to actually produce anything, because he kind of took over and we just like left him to it. Really, it was all about him. So it was quite interesting. Who would you pick, Des?
Well, I'd probably pick Phil, if I'm honest. So I think Negreanu, I think Tom's hit it on the head. He's going to play large volume. Depends on the mindset he goes in with. He could certainly, deliver a lot of cashes, or he could miss and just get a bit down and get a bit distracted. But Phil just tends to have a mindset that is second to none. He almost likes proving people wrong. And Phil is as likely to win in a large field, small buy-in event as he is in a large event. So I'd probably pick Phil. But listen, there's a bit of bad news, because, John's joined us. So good to have you in, John. We're trying to help the boys. We're trying to give them a bit of a boost. And John said, thanks for giving us a boost, guys. But the reality is we're giving away all the tips. We're helping new players to come in and be competitive from day one in this competition. And all of the old players are going, well, that's screwed it. That screwed it now. I'm not playing now because they've given away all the bloody tips. I don't think we can win here, Leigh.
Oh, what can you do? What can you... So I'm very wary. I don't want to take anything off the screen, because it's pretty much even Stevens now in this heads-up battle, Tom versus Richard in the PLO. But I might well have to just bring that back up on the screen now, because I've kind of run out of stats to provide. So
we're on a 5-minute break now, Leigh, so you're safe.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Okay,
we just timed it badly, Leigh. We've just messed it up. Well,
that's all right. I'll bring the table back up. So whilst you're on a break, Tom, then we can. It's a perfect thing now. Are you able to just run us through who your 10 picks are in total then?
So I have Daniel Negreanu, Landon Tice, who I mentioned earlier, Michael Adamo, who
I
don't know how many events he'll play, but he tends to just either win
an absolute beast.
He was a big series 2 years ago, didn't he? He had a particularly big series, I think. 2 years
ago. It was like the World Series, but also it was the ARIA High Rollers where he just won like 6 out of 8 or something. Sean Deeb, who's another player that will play pretty much everything, but a lot of people might not pick because they don't like him. Has also played the ladies event in past years, but I don't think he does that anymore. Isaac Kempton, who's the young guy who I mentioned before, finished, I think he came second in there was a 10K at the ARIA maybe, or I can't remember who it was, but he came second for $1 million a few months ago, and then played in the Poker Go Heads Up 25K tournament and did some quite fun interviews after that where he just basically said, yeah, I'm better than all of these guys, they're terrible. So he's quite fun, but I don't know how much he's going to play. João Vieira, who was on the top 4 cashes last year and is a very good player. NASA on PokerStars, you might recognize him from, and I think he's currently top of the GG leaderboard in their online series, so he's in a bit of form. Roland, we've already mentioned, not going to get me any points apparently, but there you are.
well, do you get points for cashing? You do get something for cashing, so he's going to get you some.
You get, exactly, yeah. So he just, if he cashes 25 events, then he gets the same points as finishing first in one. So,
but we know he's not going to win one.
Exactly,
He's yet to get a bracelet, so yeah.
And then Benjamin Yu, again, another one who's got a lot of cashes, and I think he plays a lot of the mixed games as well, plays all the events. Jason Kuhn, another one who plays all the high rollers, and Jeremy Alsmus, who's also a high roller scene, plays the mixed games, good at sort of all of the variants, so we'll play all of the obscure ones. So it's mainly a lot of the high rollers and then a few kind of random younger guys, and Roland sprinkled in as well.
Having some mixed game players in there makes a lot of sense given the format of the World Series of Poker. A bit disappointed, Tom. There's no British players there. Nobody who's going to be shouting out absolute cokey nuts and 9 high like a boss. You had no place for jokers like that, no?
I did consider putting Feraldo in just because it would be fun. But again, I don't know how much. You never know how much of the series the foreign guys are going to, the non-US guys are going to play.
You'd have thought, having had the rather weird sort of World Series of Poker timeline last season, which basically the international players could only turn up, I think, just before the start of the main event.
It was the last fly of the main event.
That's right. And then the year before, it was just the international thing was largely done online with a final table played in Vegas. Yet I thought after 2 years of, quite a lot of dilution, that actually the Europeans, the Brits, are going to turn up in some volume.
Yeah, I mean, I do have João Vieira, who's Portuguese, I think. So I have one British, one European player in there, and Adamo's Australian. So it's not all American, but I don't have any Brits. Yeah, maybe I might do another team and do an all UK side.
It's difficult to know who from the UK is kind of in form and likely to head over and play any of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You don't know if they're going to go, and then if they do go, are they out for the whole series, or are they just going for like 3 weeks or something?
Yeah.
So you probably have to go with the big names. Someone like Stephen Chidwick, I think, is a fairly safe bet that he's going to play.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff, and I think Feraldo will be playing most of it.
Yeah. Apparently, Dave Paxo's second team is an absolute treat. We're all looking forward to finding out what's in there. But I think there's been a bit of giggling when Paxo's second team's been mentioned.
Isn't Chris Moorman based in the States now?
He is actually, yeah. Like he's one where I kind of think he's not.
But I just again, I don't know whether he's gonna.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll play a lot of stuff, but he's not as prominent, I think, in the kind of the poker media world. So I kind of forget about him a lot. I don't know how much he plays these days.
Yeah, I was just looking, Des, just in the chat when you mentioned someone who was saying stop giving out all the hints and tips. Of course, that is one Barry Cullen,
Mr. Cullen, right?
who is Mr. Fantasy World Series of Poker in the fact that I think he's won this 3 times on the bounce. Yeah. So he certainly knows, and if he's worried that we're giving out all the tips, we might have actually said some good stuff. I reckon it's a possibility.
And whenever you see Barry,
I've never done this event before, so I could be completely just absolutely wailing it off, and probably am.
Oh, we'll have to see. Tell me, one of the features I think of this competition from the lads is the fact that John writes up almost every day an update as to how the chosen players have gotten on. So there's tables, there's some content. It's like it's really just engaging. Would you be tempted, for example, Tom, to, you know, take out a PokerGo subscription for the couple of months, you know, watch some of those final tables? Does having some horses in the race give you that sort of interest?
Yeah, I mean, I have a PokerGo subscription anyway, but definitely, yeah, having people to follow makes it a bit more. It's just a bit more of an interest for you, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of events, actually, to be fair, like just a random 2K turbo or something that I wouldn't really pay much attention to. But if I have someone who's in it that I'm sweating, then
I mean, one name I didn't see in your team, and is one Todd Wood, who's representing the Black Country Poker Club in the main event.
Leigh, let me just correct you there. Let me just correct you. You mean APAT's Todd Wood?
APAT's Todd Wood. Yes, that's the one. That is the one. Yeah, as he is forever going to be known now. APAT's Todd Wood. Yeah. So.
Oh, fantastic. He'll do well, though. I mean, here's the thing, though. A lot of APATers go out and play these events and, you know, cash and stuff like that. I mean, it's always worth keeping an eye on the cashers.
Our own Brommers, the Half Adam, played in the main event in the autumn. Had a really decent run. Thoroughly enjoyed himself and had a good crack at it. And obviously, had some decent cashes earlier on in the year at some of the GKPTs, and therefore decided to give it a go whilst they were over. And
so Leigh, listen,
certainly get value for money out of the main event because of the structure. I think it's pretty much a case if you can't really say that you're doing you're unlucky if you're busting it really early in it.
Oh, great. Listen, Leigh, a big finish to the segment, right? The big finish, the call to action, right? They tell me you've got to put a call to action on the end. So if the guys want to play this Fantasy World Series of Poker, obviously there are links within the APAT group. Just, you know, Carl is always updating them. So just go and find one, right? It's near the top.
Just go and find one. I mean, I attached one to the post today, and also put it in the poll that we did as well. And Carl posted up a couple of days ago as well. You've got your first event is on the 31st of May. So you've got a couple of days if you want to get that in. I think they're taking a payment for a prize pool as well as an option as well.
Oh dear.
And that's that.
OMG.
That's that. Not a huge amount you could do with that exit hand there, Tom, really, was there?
I mean, I didn't really like it, but when I have a 9 on 9-3 deuce rainbow, I don't think you can really fold. I had queen 9 jack. He had 9-7-8 deuce.
I have to say, though, Tom, I mean, to have you on and talk with us and all of that stuff and actually go heads up for the tourney, the featured tourney of the night, top job. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Nice.
I don't know if it counts as a buck if I bottle the heads up, but I'll take the cash.
Right. Decent. It's very good. So we should say well done to Richard Rudling Smith. He picks up $410 in that one, and Tom has it settled for $245, but that's not bad for a $33 buy-in. So not a bad evening's work for what that started at 8 o'clock, didn't it? So 3 hours work. So
that's good. And Rudders too, Leigh. Rudders too. You'd have to say massively consistent in these events every week.
Yeah, hugely consistent across leaderboard ladders. Is up at step. She's either step 4 or step 5, I think. Let's have a look. Where is he? Step 4, I think he is at the moment. Oh, he's step 5. He was step 4. He went up a step. So, and that's probably going to get him in the top 20 again this week. So he's going to pick up some added value tickets again. We're down to 4 in the No Limit Hold'em. 4 players remaining in that. Ganka Georgieva, then Konstantinos from Greece, Kelly Warner from the UK, and Florian Preuss from Germany. We're down to 6 in the turbo knockout as well. Calvin Davis from Canada's in there. Our friend Heribert from Germany, Ipfelkoffer, he's still in there as well. So Stefan Reisenberger as well from Malta. So a bunch still posting. We'll keep an eye on that because obviously I wait for a few more to get in before I confirm where we're going to be on leaderboard ladders for the week to be able to get that to its conclusion. But yeah, if you want to get into the World Series of Poker fantasy comp, then do as Tom did, get your team together. it can have a bit of logic behind it, or it can just be, whatever you randomly want to go
the Dans.
for. I mean,
right, all the Dans. If you can find 10 of them, go. You're likely to have your own unique team.
Oh, Carl's in the chat also saying there will also be late registration.
What?
Until August, apparently. Yeah, you'll be able to buy in, Des, late, so you'll be fine. Yeah, I'm assuming late registration means if you don't get any points for any events that have already taken place, I presume. So if you wanted to kind of get a lay of the land for a couple of days before you put your team in, I don't know. Is there value in that, Tom? Would you say on a late reg and picking up? The first year to get an idea? Probably not.
Not if you buy in August, Leigh. No, it's over. Yeah. The whole thing is over. Car's trying to make a bit of margin there. I think that's what's going on there.
You can make subs as well, I think. Cost you points to do it. So I guess it's probably worth making a team first, and then if you decide that there's someone who's in good form, and you want to change him in, then you can.
How much does it cost, Tom, to play?
I don't know actually. I hadn't actually properly looked at the point structure, but I think there's a certain amount of substitutions you can make throughout the. Right. Hopefully, Carl can confirm if he's still in the chat.
Let us know. Do you know, Leigh? How much is it? Like a tenner to play? It's a nominal fee, and it goes into the prize
I think it's a tenner. Yeah. So Carl says, correct. Only points from when you start. So, and obviously there's transfers available as well. I'm pretty sure it's a 10. I think they're taking payment via PayPal, if I remember rightly.
If you slide Carl a few extra quid, can he help you out? Can he help you out?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that won't be a problem at all.
He can do that?
I mean, well, John's the one you want to do because John will have a spreadsheet going, and I'm sure he can, change the coding if necessary. Des, if you know what I'm saying, wink, wink.
I know what you're saying.
And all that.
Change the coding. Back in my day, help you out.
Yeah.
Today it's change the coding. I understand. I think we're talking the same language here.
Yeah. There'll be no audit trail, so it'll be fine. John's got that covered for you. Won't be a problem at all.
See, is this going to be like the Wagatha Christie case? He's going to he's going to launch his laptop into the North Sea, or it's probably going to be the South Sea.
What was the result of that, by the way? Or is there no result?
I think we're waiting. It's now with the VAR. I think it's now with the VAR. It'll go on for a few months, and then we'll find out basically that they both have cost themselves a lot of money. I think that ultimately will be the result.
I think they released some WhatsApp records that were pretty incriminating. So I guess that may shut the case down, possibly.
Oh, well, in whose favour?
Basically between Rebecca Vardy and her agent, with her just feeding lots of information to her.
Oh wow!
It's not that straightforward though, young Tom, because you see, Ms. Vardy can say, "Well, I didn't release this stuff. My trusted agent had access, but I didn't know she was going to release it." Ultimately, it's going to come down for somebody to say.
I think some of the majority of conversations were her saying, "Can I get some money for this story?" or something. There's some stuff about when Mahrez was at Leicester, he didn't turn up to training, and they're all really annoyed about it. So that found its way to the papers.
It did. And Peter Andre's rather small penis, I think, made it into the papers.
You do wonder when you're married to a Premier League footballer,
why
who will be earning whatever amount. What are you really? Why do you need to do that?
For your own notoriety, Leigh, I guess it does seem rather odd, but some people are needy in that way. I mean, I'm not saying you and I are needy in that way, but some people are needy in that way.
No, that is true. So, what's your thoughts, Tom, on the World Series moving from the Rio onto the Strip to Bally's, and which will soon be the Horseshoe, and then Paris? It's a big change.
I've never been to either, but every single person I've spoken to has said that they hate the Rio. So I'm presuming it's a good thing. And Bally's is on the Strip now, isn't it? Rather than being
it's good news. It's got to be good.
It seems good, and I've seen photos. I think Jeff Platt's put a few up on Twitter of the rooms and some of the changes they've made. I think to do the re-entry, and they're going to have a few more kind of feature table style tables, which are a bit nicer for the latter stages of the main.
I don't know whether you've seen the video. There is a video because they had a press conference, might have been Friday, and Norman Chad did a video showing what the rooms that they're using and how they're going to do it. And basically, it looks like very much a case of, right, in this huge, great big room, everything that's kind of all the day ones for anything kind of a couple of grand and below will all be played in here. And then all the day twos will be played in this room. And then this room has got the 8 feature tables plus what they call the mothership. And then this is the overflow room where it's going to be played, and it's mixed between the Bally's ballroom and the Champagne ballroom and whatever it is. So it looks like they've got to try to get a structure to it as to how they're going to make it all work. So just we that flew through that No Limit Hold'em. Konstantinos ended up beating Kelly Warner heads up. So Konstantinos picks up $670, again another regular APAT player. Superb. And Kelly has to settle for $432 in second place. So all we've got left going now, Des, is 5 players left in the Turbo Knockout, which I will just bring up on screen.
Okay.
So we've got it, and then you can
there we go.
Carry on chatting. So have you been to Vegas, Tom, or
no?
Okay, so is it on your bucket list? Is it on your bucket list of things to do?
It's basically the only thing on my bucket list, actually. Yeah.
Okay,
but I was considering it this year, but I don't feel I can't afford it, and I don't have the time to spare to make the most of it.
Yeah.
But I think next year very much that's on the to-do list.
It doesn't disappoint, does it, Leigh? I mean, it just doesn't disappoint.
I mean, Paul and I had this thing of we say, we'll try and go every other year, but if we know that Tom Bacon might be going next year as well, and we might be having to put a 2023 trip in as well. To be honest, yeah,
I'm up for a 2023 trip.
You need to join. Yeah, get in with Paul and I. We'll sort a trip together and we'll do that. That sounds a good idea. I like that. And of course, 2023 is going to be the first year of Formula One.
Yeah.
At in Vegas in the November time, which is going to be incredible.
Going to be too late for the World Series of Poker, though, Leigh.
No, it will be. But then again, if anybody that watched the Monaco Grand Prix today might say, what's the bloody point in that? Because that was just a bit of a farce for a fair chunk of it.
I don't think we're expecting too much rain in Vegas, though, even in November.
No, we should be. Should be all right. You'd want to go, I guess, World Series time, Tom? Yeah,
I guess so. Yeah, for just for the atmosphere, if nothing else, I think. But I mean, I'm sure whenever you go, you can find stuff that you want to play. But I think during the series is probably the sensible.
Well, I've only been twice, and I'm one of those people that you mentioned before that just didn't like the Rio. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe my expectations were too high, but I kind of just went in there and went, oh, it's a big room with a load of tables.
Yeah. You see, I kind of wish I'd gone to Rio because my expectations were incredibly low because I've just heard it's terrible and everyone hates it.
Yeah. It just didn't really do anything for me. I wasn't like, wow, this is incredible. And I don't think it's going to be any different necessarily layout wise. At Bally's and Paris. I think the big difference there is when you're at the Rio, you're kind of away, so it's a taxi ride to get anywhere else, basically. Whereas, if you finish playing a tournament, that you're out on the strip straight away, and you've got Bellagio opposite you, you've got Caesars opposite you, you've got Planet Hollywood the one side of you, just across the way, 10-minute walk, and you're at the Aria, and you pretty much. Spoilt for choice on what to do, whereas the Rio was you've got to hop in a cab to do anything. So
is it being renamed the Horseshoe?
They're rebranding starting this spring, and they'll be finished by the end of the year, and it'll be completely rebranded. So that'll be interesting. But I mean, Paris is actually very good value to stay. I know the Bromleys stay at Paris every year when they go to Vegas. It's quite good value.
Is that going to have changed when they have the series on? I'm guessing.
When we were looking just for hotels and bits and pieces, as you can imagine, Paul and I tend to have a spreadsheet for this kind of stuff and comparing all the different options. And Paris actually came in quite reasonable.
Okay.
Even during the series, it wasn't crazy. I mean, they're just fairly standard rooms, but you're pretty much on. You're right there. Not much else. There's not much else in Paris, I don't think. I mean, there's some nice restaurants and stuff, but
I'm guessing you're in your room to sleep, and that's basically it anyway. So As long
as
it's well
I don't know what anyone else does with Vegas. I say Paul and I always start with every year we go, oh, well, we just get somewhere cheap. That's just, we're just using it to sleep. And then you go, oh, look, if you upgrade, you can get a fountain view. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I'd be having none of that.
And it's like, that one's got a balcony. Should we go? Before you know it, you've ended up paying double the price that you were going to pay for a hotel for the week. Yeah,
I'll tell you.
Where have you stayed before, Des? Where have you?
I've stayed in a few. I've stayed in a few places, but my favorite story was obviously the last time I went with Sean, and we arrived at the airport. We went straight to a ticket booth. We bought some tickets for some shows, including Carrot Top on our last night, the comedian. So we thought that's cool. Then we basically dumped the bags, got into a casino. I can't remember which one it was, but Celine Dion was meant to be playing there. So we thought straight down, we're going to get some tickets for Celine Dion. But we stopped at a blackjack table. We're about $750 up. After about an hour, we got up, quickly ran down to Celine Dion. Fucking cancelled. There's no tickets. Absolute disaster. We're walking back out again. Oh, hello. Let's just play a bit of blackjack. About 60 minutes later, where did that all go to? I mean, how could the seven? We didn't even buy the tickets, but all the money's gone again. It's just gone. So we went on for a week. Somewhere along the way, we lost a day. Detail. And we said every single day, we're gonna play some poker, because Sean loves playing poker as well. We can get to play poker once, not once. It's just an experience, and I don't think it really matters where you stay, as Leigh sort of said. It is a little bit about that's just where you spend your downtime. I think what is pretty important is having a good location. So anywhere central is good. Anywhere off the beaten track without a car is bad, because Vegas is, it's big. I mean, it's what, about 4.5 miles from one side of the strip to the other. So ironically, the airport's extremely close to the center of Vegas. I mean, it's minutes away, but the rest of it is big. So get a car and just see the whole thing, play a bit of poker, but also go and see stuff. There's a hell of a lot to do there. And now, Leigh, you've got a sports stadium in the middle of it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say you've got even more now, because you've got an NFL team, you've got an ice hockey team. There's so
fantastic.
So much to do. I guess it's this is the thing. You could spend a couple of days just going in and out of the hotels and seeing everything that's there, and just wandering the strip and checking out all the everything that's there without actually spending any money. Yeah, there's that much to kind of just see in and around all the hotels. We went to with Simon Lawler's just asking, did you see Celine Dion in the end? Which is obviously the question we all want to answer.
No, to be honest, no. And even to the point that I bought a couple of really expensive seats for Celine Dion at the O2 about 2.5 years ago. The bloody pandemic came in. These tickets kept getting pushed back. So even that hasn't happened yet. I ended up sort of refunding on the seats. So no, Celine Dion is still a bucket list item.
And if anybody's anybody young who's Celine Dion, just think Adele. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's all you need to do. So
it's true. It's true. We did an ice bar though. That was brilliant. I don't know if you've been into one of them where you're sat there in big furry coats drinking out of ice glasses. It was fantastic though. It's just really mad for about 25 minutes was our limit. There's just so many odd things that you can do.
It is good. I'm just looking at the leaderboard ladders, Des. I think we might have a story on here, quite possibly. I think we do.
Right.
So Pete Wigglesworth is top of the leaderboard at the moment. With 167 points, 4 cashes for the week. So he's on step 4. So he's going to cost us a bit of money if he ends up there. But Calvin Davis from Canada, currently on this final table. And Calvin is, let's see, is going to need, will it be enough? Let's have a look. 17 on that. Yes, it will. A win. A win it's going to need to be.
How many points will he win by if he wins?
Oh, not many.
Half a point or something, please.
No, it'll be a bit more than no, it might be about a point. It might be about a point.
That's a bit.
But I think he's just bust. But he's just bust. There we go. There we go. I line that story up, and that's killed that. Des, there is no story whatsoever. That's
Wigglesworth wins.
Yeah, basically, Wigglesworth wins. That exit there means Wigglesworth wins.
Well
he's
done,
going to
Pete.
cost us because he's on a step 4. So yeah, so right. Pete's going to pick up the 3 tickets this week. I think Calvin is probably going to end up staying in second place with that 4th place finish there. Should do. Run. Billy Johnson's going to finish in 3rd. Brendan with a second place finish earlier on in the night is going to finish 4th, and I think Heribert is going to sneak into 5th place. I don't think the other 3 that are on this final table are going to affect those. So well done to them. A couple of mentions to Aaron. He's a step 5er. He's finished in the top 20. Richard Rudling Smith is finished in the top 22. We mentioned earlier on as well. Matthias Dieters from Germany. He's a step 3er. He's going to move up to step 4 next week. Everybody else in the top 20 is a step 1. So I think we got away with it again this week, Des. I
don't know, Leigh. That sounded expensive as you were going through it there. It sounded really, really expensive.
There's a couple of step 5 tickets, 3 lots of step 4 tickets, and the rest are step 1s. So yeah, no, I think we've got away. We'll be able to pay Tom's appearance fee. I think we'll be all right.
That's fantastic.
I think we should be good.
That is fantastic. So Tom, the WSOP and the England appearance, I mean, it's going to be tough. Well, what's in your head? I mean, if you couldn't win it, is it a must to medal? Is it about taking part? I mean, what are you looking for from this one?
Definitely not taking part. I think that's the loser's mentality.
Super competitive. Look at this, Leigh.
Yeah. To be honest, I think winning.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I think we'd probably, you take a medal if you get it, but you'd still be disappointed not to win.
Yeah.
Obviously, won the three of our team won the team event a couple of months ago at DTD, so we've kind of got set our own standards, I guess.
Set our own standards. And there's a headline.
Yeah, and I'm well aware that Paul doesn't have a bracelet, and it'd mean a lot to him to get one. So
that's fair enough.
Double. I would say double knockout, and I think we're done. Vasily, Toffin takes the win there.
Nice hand, sir.
And double knockout, and that's how quickly that can all be over. So you're looking to try and get Haycock a bracelet. It's the only way he's going to win one. If somebody else,
exactly, yeah. I mean, he should only get 25% of a bracelet in theory. But...
Has he made his pitch to you yet for the tag team competition? Or
yeah, I had to shoot him down, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. I declined as well. Yeah,
he hasn't asked me yet, but it won't be long.
Oh, you're
there can't be many left now.
Yeah. This is what I was thinking.
I agreed to do it with a friend, and I kind of presumed that Paul would probably have had enough of being in a team with me after a couple of days of that. So
yeah, fantastic.
John we might not be on speaking terms after it as well. Who knows?
Maybe not. John Murray's in the chat said he hasn't received received Pete's team yet for the Fantasy WSOP. Could I just divert the entry fee to save Pete the trouble? Of course I can, John. Just ping me your account details and I'll get tickets in your account instead. That won't be a problem at all. We can do it. But what I would say to Pete, Pete's ended up top of leaderboard ladders this week. Last week he didn't. The week before that he was top, and the week before that he was top. So he's done 3 out of the last 4 top of leaderboard ladders, and it's no small feat to actually do that. You can play a lot of the comps fine, but you still got to cash in them, and you still got to beat everybody else that's playing. And we get hundreds that play this every week, so that is pretty impressive, Pete, to top the leaderboard 3 of the last 4 weeks. So very well done.
Absolutely. Pete's out there saying it's coming home. I can sense he's about to break into a song. Of course, we're talking about England at the WSOP team. Carl says about time for another England win. Rather, of course, Carl's part of the team.
But that is a very the thinnest of brags from Carl.
It wasn't that thin. It was pretty thick, I thought.
Yeah.
But it's true. England have only won it once, Leigh, and he's right. It's got to be about time for another England win. It's always the Italians who managed to get it done. There's a few others, but the Irish have got it done a few times. God, it's time for another England win.
The Welsh have got it. The Welsh have got it done.
The Welsh do it every other year, basically. As long as there's drink there, the Welsh are going to be contenders. Well, listen, guys, it sounds to me as if we're pretty much there for the night. Leigh, agree? Anything else to discuss? Any other business?
No.
We're done.
We are just
we're
about
done.
there. Yeah.
So, two things. First of all, Mr. Bacon, sir. Lovely to have you on. Well done tonight in your play. Thanks for spending your Sunday evening with us. Good luck in Nottingham. It's not that far away now. So thanks to Tom.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to everyone who's played with us through the week. It all starts again tomorrow night, of course, for the 64th, Leigh, if I'm not mistaken, Leaderboard Ladders week. Leigh and I will be back. It's a huge bank holiday weekend, Leigh, but we're going to be back on Sunday night. It's the strangest weekend of all.
Yeah.
Are you too right?
Yeah.
No more parades, no more football. Frankly, the Northwest does not exist any longer in my mind, as far as I'm concerned.
We need Trump back as quick as possible. Get Trump back
in
so we got something to talk about. Yeah,
we do. Right. So with that, guys, I guess we're going to say bonjour, and we will see you again next weekend. Have a great week in the interim.